What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. This is where I talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that I love to talk about: movies and video games and comic books and TV shows. And right now I'd like to give you guys my thoughts on this week's episode of The Mandalorian. Specifically, The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 7, titled The Believer. Let's go ahead and talk about it. First, let's get my big face out of the way. Alright, so The Believer involves the Mandalorian and Fennec and Boba Fett and Cara Dune getting Bill Burr's character, and I forget his name, getting Bill Burr's character out of the Republic prison so that he can help them get into a Imperial facility where they can find out where Moff Gideon is so they can get to the child. Now, first of all, letting everybody know straight up, Boba Fett's not in this much. He's in it, and he's got some dialogue, and he does some stuff, but he's mostly piloting Slave One. He also has a pretty funny moment in this, where he talks about the Imperials recognizing his face. Let's talk about Bill Burr real fast. So his character here, he has a ton of character development here. Just a ton of character development. So we learn who he is in this episode and why he believes the things that he believes, and why he does the things that he does. He really tries to break down, what it means for a soldier to follow orders. And there's a certain degree of him trying to make the stormtroopers seem sympathetic. Like, listen, they're just following orders. And there's also a certain degree of him wanting to make sure that it's clear that the stormtroopers, the Imperial officers, even the Republic officers and the Republic troopers, they need to understand that they, even if they're given orders to do something that's morally wrong, that they have the power to not carry out those orders. Now, I don't think it's quite that simple. I think that it's very difficult for a soldier to not carry out orders, but the idea behind behind it, that these stormtroopers, they're just people. They have families. They're, in a way, these stormtroopers are victims. I think that's a really interesting idea. If not one that I don't necessarily want to see explored a whole lot, because I want my bad guys to be bad guys. It's still an interesting idea that definitely has some relevancy to real life. And Bill Burr just does he's a good actor, and he just does a really good job here of conveying kind of where he stands on this conflict. And I think that he wants to stand on the side of what's morally right. And it's clear that he doesn't always do what's morally right, but that's kind of where his heart is at, is to stand there on the side of things that's morally right. And he actually starts a conflict in this that I think everybody who watches this episode is going to be cheering, because he starts a conflict against somebody who's just evil incarnate. And it's a really not fun, but it's a really eye-opening moment where you really learn exactly who this guy is through his actions after they infiltrate the Imperial mining facility. It's also really interesting to see the character development from the Mandalorian, Din. It's really interesting to see how much he's willing to compromise to get the child back. In this episode, he ends up taking his mask off and letting living people see him with his mask off. In Season 1, he took his mask off, but it was just a droid. It was just a droid who saw him. In this episode, he takes the mask off, and living people see him with the mask off, but it's a compromise that he's willing to make, because he's willing to compromise his beliefs to get the kid back, because now his beliefs are more important than, getting the kid is more important than his beliefs. He's willing to change his beliefs and change who he is because of that. And I think that's fascinating as well. Definitely real character development. Cara Dune had some nice moments in this episode. Definitely her and Fennec, their presence definitely paid off as far as being backup. And she has some very physical moments in this episode also, where it's just, You know, it's she casting her definitely paid off in the physicality, because you definitely buy, um, you know, her coming in and whooping up on some stormtroopers in hand to hand combat, and so yeah, she's definitely been a lot of fun, and you know, there's rumors now that her and Fennec are going to be two of the people that the new series, uh, Rangers of the New Republic, that they're going to be two of the people the Rangers of the Republic series is going to focus on. And I think that's a great idea, because we'll have, you know, Mando will have his series, Ahsoka will have her series, Cara Dune will have her series. The only one who won't have a series yet is Boba Fett, and it's funny because I thought that one was the one that was just a slam dunk. But I guess we'll wait and see. Maybe Boba Fett's going to become a regular, or at least a supporting character in The Mandalorian. I don't know. But yeah, I could definitely see Cara Dune leading Rangers of the New Republic, because she's just done a great job and has been very charismatic in this character, and has definitely built this character up and made it her own. So she's done an excellent job with it, and this was a nice episode that got to highlight some of those skills that she brings to the table, especially the physicality. Fennec as well. You know, she had a relatively small role in this episode, as did Boba Fett, but her presence was definitely felt as a backup. You know, the Mandalorian and Bill Burr's character would have never gotten out of that Imperial site if it was not for the support of Cara Dune, Fennec, and Boba Fett. So even though the three of them weren't really in the episode a whole lot, they definitely played big dividends. And I saw this online and I just had to share it from the Resistance broadcast. No helmet, no problem. So we didn't get a lot of Moff Gideon. We did get to see him there at the end, and now he knows. You know, he knows now, because Mando is not shy about communicating with Moff Gideon now that he knows where he is. But what we did not get was the child. The child, Grogu, did not appear for one frame of this, and I'll say that, you know, you definitely kind of felt his absence. I think that the Mandalorian, the TV show, I think at this point it's the Mandalorian show, it's Din's show, but at the same time, I missed to say that it's really Mando and Baby Yoda's show. It's both of their shows, and at the end of the episode, that was the first thing I thought was, wow, no Baby Yoda this episode, and that's because he has become synonymous with the Mandalorian in the show The Mandalorian. It's very much his show as well. Now it's the Mandalorian show. It's all centered around him. He is the protagonist of the show, but Grogu's the co-star. And so, like I said, you definitely felt the absence in this episode. Not that it was a bad thing. You just kind of felt the absence. This is my least favorite episode this season. And that's not to say it was bad, because every episode this season has been so darn good. And this one was good also. It's just kind of my least favorite because I felt like it wasn't filler. And this was not a filler episode. Please don't think that I believe it's a filler episode. But it was the closest thing that they've had to a filler episode. Nothing really happened in this, except for a lot of character development. And that's why it's not filler. It's not filler because we got real, true character development on the side of Mando and on the side of Bill Burr's character. And we got to see more, we got to re-emphasize some of the traits of some of those other characters, like Cara Dune and Fennec and Boba Fett. So it was not filler because it was so full and rich with character development. But other than that, the story didn't really progress a whole lot. They had to go off on this side mission to be able to find Moff Gideon. They didn't have to go off on that side mission. The writers didn't have to send them on this mission. They could have just found some other way for him to find Moff Gideon. He could have found Moff Gideon, and they could have had a 2-part episode of him fighting Moff Gideon. But they wanted to go on this side journey to develop some character. And that's fine. That's fine. But I just don't feel like it really progressed the story a whole lot. And because of that, I feel like this is my least favorite episode of the season. But like I said, it wasn't a bad episode. Just my least favorite. So those are my thoughts on The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 7, titled The Believer. What did you think about this? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your take on it. I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel And as always, thank you so much for joining me right here at the OQ Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.